Great news. Markets never bottom on a Friday or a Monday. So, welcome to Tuesday. This is the market update. We will tell you, will the market bottom now? Will the market bottom closer to the eclipse on the 7th? What you should buy now, what you should not buy now. And we're going to analyze all the sentiment gymnastics. Let's begin with this. This is very important, so stick around. Here's a headline from Cointelegraph magazine over the weekend. ETH God candle next. 6K ETH coming up. Everything rushes up, and then obviously, boom. Now, the key for the crypto market over the next 5 days, I think, is going to be, how does ETH perform? Does ETH hold it together? Is ETH now leading the market? I would say yes. Next up, I would say, can Solana hold above 180 for sure? And in the event of a mess, 170. I want to say 180. Even if that level is not right, can Solana and Ethereum outperform even if the rest of the market, as my colleague says, wobbles? If you get ETH and Solana underperformance, if you get ETH and Solana outperformance in a market that looks terrible, right? I think you have to start looking at 4-hour charts, right? There is really no bounce. There may be no bounce for a couple of days, right? As people just look at it and go, oh yeah, Bitcoin's going to 105. Now, we just published in Patreon, even for the middle tier users, like where we think the buy, sell, or hold points are for the bigger coins. So you may want to check that out in the description down below. But safe to say, you can maintain a neutral to bullish stance with where Bitcoin is right now. Where you add, etc. That's in the premium group. But I do have an overall question. Why is everyone so upset? Really? I mean, yes, the headlines are like, God candle, 20K ETH coming up. Okay, well, you don't need 20K ETH. You just need ETH to outperform. And nobody really knows. We could be looking at a gigantic sector rotation trade. We could be looking at people dumping Bitcoin and look to buy, I don't know, big cap altcoins on a dip like what we just got. The worst part of the decline was people on social media losing their mind. Really. It's like, wait a second. We're in a bull market and everyone thinks it's going to 250K. And now we're all selling like it go to Bitcoin could go to 105 or Bitcoin could go to 95K. You'll hear both of those numbers all week long. Now, if there's a geopolitical event or something's up out there that I don't know about, fine. I get it. I get it. But if that's not true and you have a 200K target in your mind, why is everyone selling crypto when it's down? Here's another example. You may have noticed that the executive branch is trying to run Federal Reserve board members, right? It's called the FOMC, the Federal Open Market Committee, right? Where the executive branch is cleaning out the committee, looking to get interest rates down at 1% or 0. And I heard somebody make a joke, if they lower rates to 0, effectively the mortgage rate will go to 12%. You don't want that. There's a lot of kind of Banana Republic stuff going on. And all this is happening and everyone's selling crypto. Meanwhile, I'm also seeing articles where everybody is celebrating the earnings growth of the Magnificent Seven stocks. And let's take a break from hating on them for just a second. What kind of AI adoption are you going to have in 2026? Like, I just figured out ChatGPT 5. I didn't like it at first. I don't like anything at first. But now I kind of got it. Are you going to be at the office next year Go to the water cooler and look around, and a robot's going to walk by? Is a robot going to be at the office? Is an AI agent inside of a robot going to run a Zoom meeting or show up at your office? People, I hate to tell you this, but the answer is yes. Now, you're probably wondering what that has to do with crypto. It has everything to do with crypto, right? I mean, I just read an article that the ninnies in the equity market cannot sell the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs fast enough. They don't understand that the trades are linked. They're linked. So everybody is like, oh, let's dump crypto. And I got 3 headlines here. Central bank digital currencies create 1984. That's the dystopian book that I read when I was a kid. They're talking about putting, and this is not like, these are actual articles, right? Uncle Sam is talking about putting like tags on you in DeFi, US Treasury, DeFi ID plan. Gee, wow. Like your little MetaMask wallet has like a little Palantir eyeball on it. You got to be kidding me. I mean, they're actually talking about doing this kind of stuff, right? And of course, there's this idea that blockchain is going to verify everything, right? Machines are going to create stuff. Humans are going to create stuff. Everybody's going to create stuff, and nobody's going to be able to verify anything is real without the blockchain. Okay. So again, I ask you, why is everyone selling crypto? All right, everyone lost their mind on Friday covering their shorts. They FOMO'd in, and then everyone panicked on Sunday night and Monday. Now, either the seller on Sunday night was out of the Middle East or Asia. Okay. Or it was people just trying to scare you, which we discussed. Do you have any idea? I mean, if I wanted to be popular yesterday, I could have written something like, I should have had a title like, oh, this market is rigged. It's rigged. No, it's not. It's not rigged. It's big players trying to get liquidity in what is a thin, dinky market relative to legacy. It's not rigged. It's not. Now, is it moved around by hedge funds and algorithms? Yeah. But it's not controlled by central banks, which is why it's such a mystery that they're just, everyone is selling. Like, is anyone talking about DeFi? I hear more people talking about what's going on in interest rates in the UK and Japan and not about what's going on in crypto. Like, what are the top altcoins for September? Well, the good news is we're having the YouTube member podcast right after this. I'm billing it as the most important podcast of the year because everyone is trying to tell us that it's a cycle top and it's over. And I know as soon as I ask Toby about that, she's going to look at me like, I don't know, like I'm a purple octopus. She's like, are you kidding? Like, who is having a conversation about Chainlink or Arbitrum or Algorand or Jupiter? Right? I mean, Mike Novogratz from Galaxy Digital and Multicoin Capital, as we discussed yesterday, want to have Solana treasuries. Solana is not moving. Solana just continues to not want to go above 200. Yet the people who have a vested interest in Solana, I mean, these big hedge funds are also running validators. They're like, we got to start draining the supply of Solana off the market so it can go up. We got to turn Solana into something that's not a meme coin asset. And what? Do you doubt these people? Really? Don't do it. Now, again, markets don't bottom on a Monday. So the great news is it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday. And the way this is set up, this is probably set up for this market to trade like garbage and make you not want to be around. I don't know. That could happen for 4 days. Everyone's like, oh my God, it's going to 105 or it's going to 95. Okay, well, if there's an event, but what if there's no event? Well, clearly no one's around to buy it because it's thin. Everyone just got stopped out, so everyone's afraid. And social media is most likely hysterical. And of course, you'd be shocked to know what my reaction to all this is. Good. I mean, I did my homework. We would call it on the YouTube member podcast. We call it my book reports. We got upside targets out until January. Everybody's expecting a big Q4 and everyone's selling, right? Most of the big cap altcoins are either correcting or haven't done anything. And a lot of them, if you look at 4-hour charts, like I'm looking at Render right now and Bitcoin, they're all trading at their LuxAlgo discount zones. A lot of this stuff never went up. And when it did bounce, it went right back down again. So everyone's like, oh, well, I missed ETH and I missed ETH DeFi and I missed the Made in America cryptos. Bro, you haven't missed anything. And I guarantee you, we'll be having this show. What's today? August 26th. We'll be having this show on September 26th after the solar eclipse and the equinox, when this thing is most likely pivoting and rampaging higher through the entire fourth quarter, which again is not a secret. It's what Toby has been talking about in the YouTube member podcast. The question is, what coins should you buy and when should you buy them? That is both in Patreon, and we are going to cover that in spectacular fashion today, and most likely laugh at all the bears. I never know what Toby's going to say, but I know every time I go in, with my hair all messed up and say, I'm really upset that this market is going down. And she's just like, well, when it's down, it's good. She doesn't even want to do the show sometimes when it's up, because it's like, no, I want to go shopping. You can shop for anything right now. You got Polkadot, Fetch, the Graph, Chainlink, Uniswap. And you're like, gee, Bill, that's all boring. Yeah, bro, that was boring when ETH was at 2,000. But if everybody thinks ETH is going to 6K or 20K or whatever, dude, none of that stuff is going to be boring. And what I'm trying to, everyone's like, well, you got to buy alt season. It's got to buy alt coins. It's alt season when it's going up. Dude, it may be alt season now because they're dumping Bitcoin. They're dumping Bitcoin for what? Cash? The dollar? Are you out of your mind? They continue to want to distract you with, let's call it the societal culture conflict. We maybe covered this yesterday, and they just keep doubling down on old news. Why? It's a distraction. So is this whole thing with the market getting crushed. Okay, so the market doesn't trade great for a couple days. Everyone wakes up and their bags are not up 30% and they're upset. Okay, you know what? If you're upset, and Toby says this, if you're upset and you're afraid, they want you to be afraid. And one of the ways where they get everybody out when a lot of people are expecting 250K by the end of the year is that if people don't get short-term gratification for a week, a month, or they drop the market and scare the daylights out of you, that's how they get you out. That's how they're scooping up all your crypto. And then one day, maybe it's today, maybe it's in September. Okay. Maybe they shake you now and they shake you the first week of September. But I mean, if you can't get your book sorted so that you can hang on, you don't want to miss the biggest rally in the history of crypto. I mean, we cover like the full roadmap, but I mean, I know this guy, Jordy, I used to work with him. The guy's talking about robot employees at work. He's talking about Bitcoin as a monetary system attached to AI. And they're just relentlessly selling it. And I know you're looking at it this morning going, oh my God, Bitcoin's down again on the New York Open. I can't take it anymore. Dude, you got to drop the myopic, oh my God, what's happening on Monday? It's rigged. You got to drop this, because I know the guys with fangs are out there, and the longer they can make this last, the happier they are. Just like this over-the-counter desk that sold Michael Saylor all the Bitcoin he wanted at 115, and now they're just going to keep leaning on the market. They were leaning on it before Powell, and then they just went right back to it. But I mean, there's another point to be made, is that if these altcoins can actually hang in other words, what I would call small green closes, particularly if it's like Solana and Ethereum. This is a word I learned in 2008 and 2009. It's called green shoots. So what did they just do? They just torched the whole crypto forest, right? And everybody's nervous system along with it. And they're going to continue to lean on it. They're doing it now. But if at the end of the day, you start winding up with positive closes, that's a sign that the bulls are pushing back. Not just that the bulls are pushing back, but the same people who are accused of manipulating the market are just down there slowly taking it all. If you had a lot of crypto to buy, you don't do it all at once. It takes days. I have this system that I use on the full market update, which has it has numbers on the candles, and those things are used so that big players can, so they can time, over a period of days or even a week or two when they actually enter a market, particularly if they're going in the opposite direction of the current trend. It takes a long time for these big players to get in. And of course, like I said, if they catch you like in a state of depression, you're not thinking about, say, real world assets. Like name five real world asset plays. We'd be happy to help you with it on the YouTube member area. The one that most people know is Ondo. Okay. So who's looking at Ondo? You looked at the chart lately? Nobody. How about another DeFi name? What's the biggest DeFi name? Quiz question. Maybe this is a new thing. Quiz. What's the biggest? What's the marquee DeFi name? Aave. I'm showing Aave up 3% this morning. Right. In other words, you can't hold, because Aave is a business, right? Aave is a business that makes money. Now, how long are you going to be able to hold down a profitable DeFi business with ETH holding above 4,000? Right. In other words, there's two ways to look at the market, right? You can look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and XRP, right? Top down, or you can start looking at how the coins underneath are doing and see if that says anything about what the big coins might do. Right. And I said this Saturday, and I'm saying it again. You're looking for what's green on red days. And if they're hitting the market, now let's turn the page into playbook. Let's say they really do smack the market. Okay. They're probably pricing in some sort of negative geopolitical event. Right? Like the orange man is currently going taco on, say, students who are coming over here, right? You give us magnets, we let your students come over here. And we're going to try to tariff this person and that person, and none of it's working. But it can disrupt financial markets, or big players can use it as an excuse. And of course, there's always conflict zones. Somebody may be worried about that now. And we do this all the time. We actually started this way on the YouTube member area as a joke. What happens if we call it the disaster scenario? And we do it for comedy because she just laughs. And I know she's going to laugh. And we just do it anyway because it's funny. So are they pricing in some kind of negative outcome here? Are they worried about something? Maybe. And what happens when they price all their worries in and it doesn't happen? Or turning the page into playbook again. One of the things that's problematic about this is that we don't really understand why the market is down. So if we actually find out why the market is down, maybe it's Bitcoin or ETFs selling, I don't know. But when we have a firm handle on why it's down, it's over. It's over 5 minutes later. Or 5 minutes before. I think that's what's getting to people, is that you don't know. But, all the DeFi oracles, all the trading plays, all this stuff that, again, every once in a while they pivot to crypto, right? Like, things go well, they maybe move away from crypto. But as soon as something goes bad on the geopolitical front or whatever, they pivot. I mean, they're sending Hester Peirce on a national tour to talk to startups in crypto. I'm like, she's from the SEC. She's called Crypto Mom. I'm not convinced She's so friendly, crypto. She just got herself a good brand. I got a great idea. Why don't you stay home and play golf and leave us alone? I mean, leave us alone. I mean, if you left the free market alone, you'd have a robot walking around at work. And when the robot wants to go out and order lunch, is the robot going to like pull out its wallet and pay at the deli? Or is it going to want to use crypto? Or is that robot going to be on a completely different network doing transactions of some kind on the blockchain, on layer ones? Quiz question. Name 5 layer ones. Okay. Ethereum, Solana, Sui, Avalanche. And let's give XRP Ledger. Okay. That's 5 layer ones. Name 5 more. Name 5 more layer ones. Tesla's going to put a robot in everyone's house, and everybody watching crypto shows, everyone on crypto YouTube shows only knows 5 layer ones. So robots are only going to use 5 layer ones. They're not going to find ones that they think are interesting. All of these AI coins that share computing power, none of that's going to matter as these Magnificent 7 guys, build out ad infinitum. I mean, this guy Jordy says you're looking at what he would call a productivity shock, like what would happen when everybody was able to get on the internet and use a Word document and a printer. It was a productivity revolution. You're going to have one next year. That doesn't involve crypto? Wow, really? Okay, everyone's saying, well, it might go from 110 to 105, so I better be careful. Shut up. Just shut up. Right? I mean, productivity revolution. You're like, what's a productivity revolution? Okay, I'll tell you. Once upon a time, when I used to have to write papers in school, I used to have to type them. I used to have to write them out longhand on a long yellow legal pad, including the parts that I, wanted a footnote or cite from a book that I had to get at a library that there was no Google search. And I would have to sit down and type. And I had this really fancy feature where I could hit like delete, and it would go back and put white out over the word I just typed. You're sitting there with like a dictionary next to your desk. The next thing you know, 3 years later at school, I got a laptop that runs word processing on one disk. So here I am typing newspaper articles, typing term papers, hitting the print button, it's going to my dot matrix printer. Holy cow, you just added 10 hours to my week. You just gave me 10 hours. Now, I understand AI creates labor market disruptions, but that should not be the focus if you're in crypto. What happens if there's some kind of productivity revolution, a monetary revolution, a workflow, an ownership, a compute? I mean, just, dude, bro, it goes on and on and on. Toby said last week, there are sectors we don't even know are sectors. Well, you're like, well, how am I going to find out about it? Well, that's real easy, man. We go on in exactly 4 minutes. So find the join button in the chat. Find it on the homepage of our YouTube channel. That is the market update for today. We will see you in 4 minutes.